And what's going on, Crossbones Nation? Welcome back to another show of That Just Happened. Yes, it's episode number 2. Yes, we missed last week because technical difficulties with my internet and fucking Texas wanting to just pour rain and take away all my shit. So I'm here with my boy Eddie Law, and we're here to talk about UFC 58. Rich Franklin versus David Loiseau, the Crow. Good card, sick card overall. Had one of the best fights in my top 5 fights that I can keep watching over and over, but we'll get into that. But what's going on, Eddie?
Oh, man, same. Well, not the same. I'll be honest with you. Usually I'm pretty animated most of the time, right? But there's these certain days in life where it's just a long fucking day and you have no energy. So I'm kind of dragging ass right now. But no, this card was definitely one of the it was a weird card. To me, it was a weird card based just because Mike Sook was the co-main event, and the fight before that was GSP against BJ Penn, and you didn't have that as the co-main. Hell, I could make it a case that should be a main event, but GSP was still, he was known, but he wasn't, the champ yet, so it's not gonna, not like it was gonna be a huge fight for him. It was a huge fight for him, but a huge fight as far as the world MMA goes. But I mean, think about it: BJ Penn against GSP. And look where they're at now. BJ Penn retired after unfortunately getting the shit kicked out of him the last couple fights. And then GSP retired because he just walked away because he needed a break. So, both guys are now, legends. BJ Penn was already a legend then, but now he's an even bigger legend. And GSP a legend in his own right when you didn't really know, you didn't really know that, that guy back when he fought BJ. So that fight was great. And then, of course, David Loiseau, is one of the toughest dudes on the planet. Just after watching that fight, the beating he took was crazy. But no, man, ready to get at it with this card that was actually kicked off in a weird way. And Mark Hammond against Yves Edwards. I completely forgot these two fought.
Yeah, no, we had like you said, we had Mark Hominick versus Yves Edwards. Yves Edwards actually just retired during his last fight, but it was a good fight overall. Yves Edwards, he was a favorite coming into the fight. Mark Hominick was that newcomer. I believe it was his debut too into the UFC for Mark Hominick. So it was Yves' fight to win, and he ended up getting submitted by Mark Hominick in the second round, a minute 52 into it, by arm triangle, which surprised everyone because Yves Edwards, like I said, was that guy that was supposed to be there and be that top contender, and he ended up not being it.
Yeah, here's the thing, coming into that fight, of course, the jiu-jitsu masters who Yves Edwards is, but that guy prefers, and all the way to the end of his career, always preferred to stand up with dudes. Never really cared to take the fight to the ground. If it went to the ground, fine, he was ready. But he never, or he rarely on purpose took that fight to the ground. He preferred to stand with dudes. And especially in this fight, with good reason. He had the reach. He had the striking, what people thought was a striking advantage over Mark Hominick, or at least enough striking to defeat Mark Hominick. He used the clinch a lot of times, landed a lot of nice shots. Some of those combos were just phenomenal coming from Yves Edwards. Mark Hominick, though, he caught the jiu-jitsu sleeping, man. He was slipping, and he put him in that triangle. It's funny. What's funny watching the fight, Joe Rogan calls for it like 30 times. He's got triangle. Wait, no. He's got a triangle, but no, he doesn't. Oh, there it is, So, and who knew, man? Mark Hominick is still a guy that people remember from that fight, from his career. I mean, I think last time he fought was in 2012 at UFC 154. He lost to Pablo Garza, and now he runs his own MMA gym in London, Ontario. And Yves Edwards also retired. Where I think he retired. You actually got to see his last fight, right?
Yeah, no, I got to see his last fight in Austin, and he got demolished in his fight, and it sucks to see a vet like that go. But like you said, he was at the end of his career. He was getting up there, but yeah, I got to see him fight his last fight.
Yeah, his last Yves Edwards' last fight was against Akbar Arreola, who armbarred him in the first round. And of course, Akbar Arreola, who just got the living shit kicked out of him in his last fight. I forgot who he fought, but Arreola had no clue he was even fighting. I think he forgot that he had to fight that day and just decided to show up and get the snot kicked out of him. But Yves Edwards, actually, I don't even know if you listened to it or not. He has a podcast now with Brian Stan. So I can't remember exactly where it is. Look it up on Twitter, people. Yves Edwards and Brian Stann have their own podcast. I think they've done a couple episodes now. But again, Yves Edwards is still one of those guys who, till the end of his career, it's almost like his name alone got people to watch him, because he was just one of those guys that came in to just throw hands and see what happens.
Yeah, no, I liked Yves Edwards, but he didn't have the record or the. Well, he had a great record. He's 42-22, I believe. Yeah, 42-22. But his record kind of shifted a lot in his career. He had like 3-win streak, then lost. Another good 3-win streak, and then a 2-lose streak. And then it was just all over his place. And then he ended his career with, I believe, 4 losses and a no contest. So
Yeah.
He had a rocky career, but he always came to fight. He always put up an entertaining fight. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, he was one of those guys that everyone wanted to watch. And that's not the unfortunate part. The unfortunate part, he's one of those guys you kept saying, dude, you're hanging on too long. Like, just cut it out, right? Stop. Let it go. You know, and by the time he was done, just like you said, 4 losses and no contest, really crappy way to go. For sure. One of the crappiest ways to go.
Yeah. But moving on to the next fight, we had Nate the Great Marquardt versus Joe. Joe Rogan was calling him Dirksen. I think it's called Dorksen, or I don't even know how you say it. I'm saying Dirksen because I thought that was funny as hell. But Joe Dirksen. And in this fight, Nate Marquardt was Nate Marquardt. He came in to wreck house. Back then, he was that guy in the middleweight division that was looking for that title shot. He wanted the belt, and he was going to try to get anything to get that title shot. What did you think about this fight?
Just like you said, man, Nate Marquardt was Nate Marquardt. And this is back in the day when you could say Nate Marquardt was a bad mofo. You know, he was a young guy. In fact, he called out Rich Franklin right after his fight, looking for a title shot. You know, and I mean, physically he looked just jacked, right? And I mean, just on a side note, watching a lot of these, you know, past UFC events and past MMA events, you know, you're kind of looking around to see who's taking, as Joe Rogan would say, Mexican supplements. You're trying to figure out who's on what or who might be on some stuff. Nate Marquardt kind of looked like one of those guys. Who knows? But definitely in the fight, both guys actually hurt each other at one point in the fight. And then Nate Marquardt just kind of took it to the ground and ended up grinding out Joe Dorksen. Now you got me saying Dorksen. Dirksen. If I forgot which round it was, Joe actually caught Nate with a big left hook that hurt Nate. And then when Joe rushed in to finish it, Nate just went right to the wrestling and bought himself some time to recover. You know, both guys landed big shots to wreck the other guy, but Nate was just a little more active. He did just enough to win the first and I think the third rounds, especially the third round with the takedowns. Got the decision win off of that. Back then it was a big win for Nate Marquardt. It was one of those, it was one of those things where one of those fights where your name started, his name started to be heard, and people were calling for him to get a title shot against Rich Franklin. Like I say, he calls him out at the end of the fight. In fact, Rich Franklin at the end of his fight was talking about how he's got a lot of young guys coming after him, especially Nate Marquardt, and all those other guys in that division looking for a rematch for the middleweight title. But what are we looking at with Nate Marquardt here recently? He has he just lost to Brad Tavares in January at UFC 182. Before that, had a win over James Tahuna. That win over James Tahuna, by the way, was a big win for Marquardt, because before that he had a 3-fight losing streak, not against any losers either. He lost to Tarek Safadine, Jake Ellenberger, and Hector Lombard. Before that, he beat Tyron Woodley via knockout at Strikeforce. So now he's got this loss against Brad Tavares, and I thought for sure he'd be done at 36 years old. No, he's coming back. He's slated to take on Kelvin Gastelum in a middleweight fight in Mexico at UFC 188. It's the durability of some of these guys, especially guys like Nate Marquardt, really, really, fascinate me. This one, you have an athlete on your hands. But I'm wondering, what if taking on a young guy that's so talented, such as Kelvin Gastelum, what it's going to do for his career should he lose that fight. I'm wondering if he's going to be like, I can't hang with these young guys anymore, and he's going to call it a career, which I'm honestly hoping for. Yeah.
No, Nate Marquardt, like you say, Kelvin Gastelum, yourself, basically, because we have that little joke running around. Yeah. But Nate Marquardt has everything to fight. If he loses, or he has nothing to lose. Actually, he's that guy that's like, okay, I'm near the end of my career. If this young guy beats me, okay, it's a pass of the torch. That's all it is. And Nate Marquardt, after this fight against Joe Dirksen, he went on a 2-fight win streak, beating Dean Lister for a title shot against the middleweight champion of the time, Anderson Silva. And we actually got to see that fight. He ended up losing because he didn't make weight. So the fight turned out not to be a title shot, and he just ended up fighting Anderson Silva and getting taken out by punches. So other than that, Joe Dirksen, where did he go from this loss? Did he stay in the UFC? Let's see. He did.
Right here.
Yeah.
He is 37 years old. He actually fought us recently in September of last year at King of the Cage, winning his having a decision win over this guy Tony Lopez. He needs to cut it out, I think. I mean, it's not like you're 37 fighting the UFC. You're fighting in a local, smaller promotion, King of the Cage. So, and if you go to his Twitter, you know, it's just one of those guys that's like, I need to fight. I'm going to lose my mind, you know. It's like, dude, you need to stop fighting or you might lose your mind just off of punches, man.
Yeah, his record's 51-16. That's what the hell. He went on a 3-fight losing streak to CB Dalloway, Dan Miller, then Hector Lombard. And then that's the last time we actually saw him in the UFC was against Dan Miller. So I don't think we'll see him back in the UFC anytime soon. I don't even think we'll be able to see him in a Bellator 1 FC or anything like that. I think he's just going to stick to those tiny promotions.
Yeah, it looks like he fights once a year anyway. I mean, 2 times in 2012, once in 2013, and once in 2014. I wouldn't be surprised if he was done.
Yeah. But moving on to I'm calling it the co-main event because this was the co-main event because actually when I messaged you, was Mike Swick on this card? I think last week when we were setting up for the show, you're like, yeah, he was. I'm like, well, was he the I didn't understand where he was on the card. I didn't understand why he was the co-main event. But this was the co-main event in my opinion. This was one of the top 5 fights in my books. George St. Pierre versus BJ Penn. BJ Penn came out with his belt around his waist, which is awesome. I hate that fighters don't do that. I don't. Dana White says that they can if they choose to. He doesn't like it. I like when they come out with the belt because it shows, hey, I earned this. This is mine, and you're going to try to take this thing away from me. And that's basically what BJ Penn did because he didn't lose the belt. He ended up retiring with the belt. Matt Hughes took over the belt, and then BJ Penn was coming in here to get his title shot against Matt Hughes. But who was in his way is George St. Pierre, the young guy, the young George St. Pierre who was putting up good fights. He had 1 loss in the UFC, but he kept going, and this is the old GSP that I like that tried to finish fights. He didn't just lay on top of you and hold you down. He went in for the kill. He would keep punching and keep going. And this fight was so entertaining, so bloody, and so back and forth. What did you think?
What is the thing? BJ Penn came out the same way BJ Penn used to come out back in the day and kind of tried to at the end of his career. Came out very aggressive. In fact, he cracked GSP in the nose right away, drawing for his blood, basically. And then GSP, started doing what GSP does. Man, it was one of those fights where I was sitting back. I couldn't analyze it at all. I was just sitting back like, holy shit, what is going on here? It's just like you said, one of the fights you can watch over and over and over again and not get bored of it. But GSP, by the way, and this caught my attention during the because they do the interviews before the fights and all that. They had GSP. They were asking GSP about what he thinks of this fight, what's going to happen, all that stuff. GSP used to be a cold motherfucker, man. The way he was talking, he had a look in his eye of a dude who gives 0 fucks and is coming in to take your life in the cage. He was a scary dude. To compare to near the end of his career or the end of this last stint in his career, he was really nice. He was like, oh, even talking about Nick Diaz, he's like, oh, he deserves the title shot and all this other crap. But you imagine this young GSP talking about Nick Diaz. You're probably talking about he's gonna kill him, pull his head off during the fight, whatever. Overall, the fight though, it all came down to that 3rd round because look, I think BJ Penn got the 1st round, and then GSP was kind of like, all right, I'm gonna fight. Let's get this down, right? started getting takedowns. He got like 2 takedowns in the second round. The third round, at the end of the fight, he got that big old takedown. And BJ Penn was trying to get him in omoplata, maybe in a go-go. And by the way, just to comment on BJ Penn, his jiu-jitsu is insane.
Sick.
His flexibility, look, 99% of jiu-jitsu practitioners, in order to get any kind of like submission where the leg has to go over your opponent's head or whatever, you have to grab your foot and move it because you're not that, that just dexterity is not there for most guys. BJ Penn, with his leg, fucking moved it over. It was just like, dude, what the hell? Like, the dude was so crazy. So again, it all came down to the third round with GSP getting the big takedown. BJ Penn not able to lock in any kind of submission, and GSP gets the split decision win. What bothered the hell out of me was a crowd booing GSP. Mm-hmm. Because if you remember, this card was slated USA versus Canada. By the way, I hate those cards. I can't stand those cards. No, certain country against certain country. We have a big problem in society today that, everyone picks fucking teams in a sporting event. You know what I mean? Unless it's the World Cup, unless it's some kind of international, competition, Olympics, whatever you want to say, ultimately these two guys are fighting for their own purses, for themselves. They're fighting for their own, their own gain, really. And GSP made that fucking clear at the end of the fight because they were booing him. Joe Rogan goes up to him on the microphone and he goes, he heard the booing, and Joe Rogan was he was really fucking annoyed by it. He goes, is this some kind of patriotic thing? He's like, I can't believe you guys are booing. And then GSP disarmed the hell out of everybody by saying, look, I fought for myself. I didn't fight for Canada. I think we're all the same. We're all fight fans, whatever the hell. So, the point was messed up, but GSP just disarmed him with just the class that GSP is known for as far as a person and a sportsman. But man, I mean, that fight just maybe not back then, maybe not at that fight. We didn't really know what we were watching. That we were watching two legends go to war. Okay, looking back, I mean, can you believe we actually got to see GSP against BJ Penn? We got to see it twice, by the way. Yeah. It went down again at UFC, I believe, 94, where GSP actually stopped BJ Penn via TKO. So, and it was a main event, as of course it should have been from the get-go. But yeah, man, phenomenal fight, and just I could watch either one of those guys fight anybody. Not BJ Penn, anybody except for the Frankie Edgar fight, which pretty much broke my heart watching. Mm-hmm. And GSP, who would I not want to see him fight? I don't want to see him fight Nick Diaz because I thought Nick Diaz won that fight. I don't care what anyone says. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, actually, it's kind of weird because I'm with you on that one. I kind of think Nick Diaz should have won that fight. I don't know. It's kind of weird because that was such a weird fight. BJ just took him down, and GSP just took him down. Nick Diaz looked kind of pissed off because he's tired of that shit. But talking about GSP, he beat BJ Penn, ended up getting a title shot against Matt Hughes, got his belt back, and then ended up losing to Matt Serra, which was a fight that I did not see Matt Serra winning. It's kind of like today's Chris Weidman Anderson Silva fight. It was that shit was not supposed to happen. But after he got his belt back, he just went on a complete tear and has been undefeated ever since. So that tells you about GSP, how dominant he was, and probably still would be in the division if he was still there.
Yeah, I mean his ex-manager. Look, first of all, this is the dumbest fucking story ever. And again, I'm sorry the cousin gets the people, but it bothers the hell out of me. His ex-manager comes out, or his manager, whoever. No one even knows who this guy is at this point. I've heard ex-manager saying, "Oh, GSP is for sure coming back. I'm convinced GSP is gonna come back." And we talked about this, I think yesterday or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, no, cut that. That's a bull crap freaking story. Leave it alone. If the guy comes back, great. If not, no. But should he come back? Of course, the question is who should he face and all that. I think if he comes back, he should get a title shot right away. He never lost the title. But it all depends on and if Rory. I think I think GSP's waiting to see who wins the Lawler McDonald fight for the title. Mm-hmm. I think if Lawler wins, GSP is going to return. I think if Rory wins, GSP is like, I'm good. We're cool. Or he fights at 185, which I wouldn't mind seeing, except for the fact that he probably looks like a midget compared to Chris Weidman. So
Yeah.
that would be it'd be weird to see him at 185. Maybe come back and do a super fight with Anderson Silva. Should Anderson Silva not get butt fucked by the NSAC, that might possibly be the biggest fight. That would be, that'd be a bigger, better version of Pacquiao Mayweather, in my opinion. Like, think of it that way. Yeah. I mean, two dominant guys in their own right, and then they finally face each other. That'd be great to see.
Yeah, no, I've been wanting that fight ever since before people have been talking about it, because everyone was saying that he's the best. No, Anderson's the best, and that's the fight that we all wanted to see. And hey, Mayweather Pacquiao's happening. Hopefully, we can get this fight sooner than however long that fucking boxing fight.
If it takes 5 years to get Anderson Silva GSP, if GSP comes back, fuck him. I don't want to see it.
It'll happen in Bellator.
Oh god, no! Oh god, you're bringing back bad memories. You see Ken Shamrock, by the way, since we're gonna be a little off topic here. Ken Shamrock, they showed if you go to the Bellator Twitter, they show pictures of him, doing like promo pictures and all that shit. And Ken Shamrock looks jacked, which I don't know about you, but tells me this guy has been injecting steroids into himself with a turkey baster, like a motherfucker, just trying to get himself just ready to get the crap kicked out of him. And I haven't seen a Kimbo Slice anywhere. I haven't seen any interviews or anything. I'm sure he's been doing it, but I mean, look, if in that fight you don't already know that Ken Shamrock's going to take it to the ground, and you don't already know that Kimbo Slice's knee is going to get destroyed in some kind of leg lock heel hook thing, Kimbo Slice's not knocking out Ken Shamrock unless Ken Shamrock is stupid and leaves his chin out there trying to make it an entertaining fight. You know what I mean? If Shamrock's smart, this fight goes to the ground immediately. But I don't even know if it gets into the cage, because they look – what's the guy, 51, 50 years old, something like that? He's old as shit, and he looks like that. All right, first of all, whatever he's taking at 51 years old, give me that. I want that shit. That shit looks
right now.
He looks like that. Give me that shit right now, okay? I'll use that shit. No problem. I'm kidding. I will never use PDs. But I'm not an athlete, so who gives a shit? But, at the same time, what the fuck? So I'll be incredibly surprised if that fight even makes it to the cage. But that's my little off-topic rant on that dumbass fight.
Yeah, and then BJ Penn, we saw him lose to GSP here, and then he ended up losing to Matt Hughes. Then Jens Pulver win, Joe Stevenson win, Sean Shirk win, then lost again to GSP. It just seems to me like GSP just had BJ's number throughout his career, and same with Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar had BJ's number. It's just BJ Penn is just he's that how do I put it? He's that small guy that shouldn't be in the fight, but he's there anyway, and he's whooping everyone's ass. And I liked it. BJ Penn, in my eyes, is like one of the greatest UFC fighters I've ever seen, I ever watched, even though his last four fights have been losses? I think three. Yeah. And then, three, and then John Finch was a draw. So,
it was weird.
Are we ever going to see him back in the cage? I don't know. Probably.
No, hope not. Please, no. Please don't come back, BJ. Just let it go, man. Let it go. You're a legend. You're not Bob Sapp. It's going to hang on for freaking ever. Just chill out. You made your money. Train some guys. Get some guys up. Andrew Reed tweeting us over saying Shamrock is a walking steroid cabinet. Shamrock is a walking steroid cabinet covered in skin. I agree, Andrew. 100%. Most likely he's on the gear. All right, he's on the gear. Anyway, no, BJ Penn though. Like I think BJ Penn might have been the guy that launched GSP into that just climbed to greatness, right? Like he caught him right at the start of that, and then when they fought him again, GSP was just 100% in his prime, just a world beater, and BJ Penn was on the downside, and unfortunately, he gets TKO'd in that fight in the fourth round, I think is what it was. But but you're again two legends, two guys that you can go on UFC Fight Pass or anywhere else, YouTube, wherever. You look up any fight they've ever been in, and for the most part, 100% for BJ Penn, for the most part for GSP, you'll be entertained as fuck.
Yeah, and like you just said, BJ Penn put GSP on the map. He made him that superstar, and that's not the only fighter that BJ Penn's done that for. He's done it with Frankie Edgar too. He fought him 3 times already, and Frankie Edgar got his stock raised up high when he beat BJ Penn. So it's just this fight was one of my top 5. I love this fight. I can watch it over and over. Both fights actually, him and both BJ Penn fights, GSP and BJ Penn. It's an entertaining fight. The one thing that I really liked about the fight, and what I liked about old school UFC, is the Eddie Bravo picks.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why that's still not a thing. Why is that not a thing? It don't even have to be Eddie Bravo. Although I would love Eddie Bravo to come back and do that.
It could be Matt Hughes for all I care, because he's at every goddamn event.
Time out, not Matt Hughes. All right, that he's boring as dog shit when he talks, in my opinion.
God,
but
damn it.
no, give me Eddie Bravo. Give me Ken Flo. I'll take that guy as a guy that does the that tells you what he thinks, who thinks is winning. Brian Stan. Mm-hmm. Just keep Errol Hawani away from anything to do with that, because he's gonna be like, oh, well, no, what do you think of your opponent? Are you calling him boring? Are you shut the fuck up. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look up the dumbest interview ever, where Helwani tries to promote Demetrius Johnson himself by asking him dumbass questions, trying to get DJ to talk shit. All right. Fucking God, you're not a journalist, please, man. You're a freaking promo guy. And if this doesn't make it super clear, if that interview doesn't make it 100% clear, okay, I don't know what does. All right. Okay. Then again, another side rant. I'm losing my shit today. But no, the Eddie Bravo thing. In fact, no, bring Eddie Bravo back to do that. That'd be awesome. But real quick on the point of Frankie Edgar and BJ Penn, the way BJ Penn, kind of launched Frankie Edgar's career. Is there a better example with BJ Penn and Frankie Edgar of big things come in small packages? Like, you know what I mean? Like 2 guys that were doubted in almost every fight they had, not all of them, because Frankie Edgar, even facing Benson Henderson and a bunch of those guys, he was a favorite. I think he was favorite. But, 2 guys that just showed incredible heart and skill and ended up being very, very successful in their careers. In fact, Frankie Edgar is going to fight Uriah Faber in a weird fight, but a fight that I think is going to win. But, yeah, man, just those 2 little guys that have, crazy, crazy heart. It reminds me, an equivalent to those guys, in my opinion, would be an Allen Iverson in the NBA. Incidentally, the answer is the same, same nickname as Frankie Edgar. And Isaiah Thomas in the NBA. Who was the other small? Ray Lewis is in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Not Ray Allen. Ray Allen is a 6'5" guy, right? He's not undersized whatsoever. Ray Lewis is undersized as shit for a middle linebacker in the NFL. But this smaller guys that just will themselves into becoming legends. So
yeah. No, since we're talking about GSP, I just almost had a mini heart attack. I don't know why. I'm scrolling through Instagram real quick, and UFC posted a picture. It's GSP, Roy McDonald, like the face-off thing. Right. Like they announced the fight, and I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck is this? Yeah. But no, it's just he's a special guest speaker for this weekend.
Oh, GSP?
Yeah, him.
Yeah, he's doing the
open
tomorrow.
Mic.
Oh, and Andrew Reed's gonna love this. They're gonna do before the weigh-ins. They do a Q&A session. You can actually find on UFC on the UFC YouTube account. So just go to YouTube, just search UFC, and then go to their videos, and you will find the Q&A, which is a Fight Club Q&A. You go on there, they're gonna have GSP answering questions. So just imagine the explosion of people that's gonna be there and how loud it's gonna be when GSP walks on the stage. And imagine if he announces he's coming back. That'd be pretty crazy. But they're going to have that on the Q&A. And then right after the Q&A is the weigh-ins also on that same YouTube account. So if you're looking for both of those tomorrow, that's where you go. But definitely, I'm not missing that Q&A for anything. I'll be, I just have that much respect for GSP. And imagine that story if he says, oh, by the way, I'm coming back. I'm going to take on Nick Diaz again. Yeah, it's like do it. But I'm going to watch that. I just want to see what kind of questions that stupid crowd's going to ask him. Yeah. You ever seen one of those? The dumbest questions come up. The last
one I watched was the CM Punk one.
That was actually a good one.
No, because half the guys that answered questions were drunk Mexicans.
Yeah, I know. Our people, when our people drink. If you don't know, Nick Pilecki is also Mexican, all right? But when our people drink, we say some dumb shit. All right? If you ever seen me drunk, you've heard me say something really retarded. So, or ask dumb questions. I like that one because I thought it was entertaining. But my favorite ones are when Conor McGregor goes up, whether it's in Brazil or in Ireland or in Vegas. because it's a freaking party. It's just loud. Or even Donald Cerrone, his last one, Donald Cerrone, was a pretty good one too.
Yeah, no, that was a good one too.
Yeah, but. So tune in for that. It's gonna be a good one for sure. And then the fights on Saturday. Oh, by the way, let's promote this shit. On Saturday, about an hour and a half before the Fight Pass prelims, we will be doing a UFC 186 preview. It will be myself and a couple more of the CrossBones guys. We'll see who ends up being able to show up because Saturdays get crazy. I don't know. I mean, can you make it to that? Or you work?
Yeah, I get out at 5, so no, I probably wouldn't be able to.
3 o'clock. Yeah, we're gonna be prelims start at 3:30 for 3:30 my time, I think, which is like 5:30 your time. So yeah, there's no way. But we'll be previewing UFC 186 in detail, fighter by fighter, and see if we can't rile people up to at least make it to their local bar to watch these fights. I know the card looks like complete crap, but let's see if we can get some of these casual fans into learning something and coming in, at least showing up to a bar somewhere to at least watch these, great martial artists like Demetrius Johnson and even Horiguchi, who, if you watch his past fights, the guy's fun to watch. He's not boring at all. And then, of course, the freak side show that will be Rampage Jackson against Maldonado. That's at least you at least get to see some crazy there, I think. Yeah, but for sure. Anyway, so yeah. So sorry, I took the reins from your show. Go ahead and go.
No, you're perfectly fine. Back to UFC 58. We're going to the co-main event, which still it's BS. This should not be the co-main event. Mike Quick Swick coming off of, I think he was a 6-month layoff due to a knee injury against Steven Vellante. Mike Swick's Mike Swick. He coming into this fight, he was only in the cage for 42 seconds in 2 fights. And did I freeze?
No, I froze.
Oh, okay. I thought I froze. I was like, oh
no. My computer's acting weird. My internet's being weird. Go ahead, just keep going. If I freeze, whatever.
All right. But like I said, Mike Swick just came into the fight only being in the cage for 42 seconds. He had that nickname Mike Quick Swick for a reason, and he came in this fight and tried to do the same thing. He did end up finishing the fight in 2 minutes and 9 seconds of the first round due to a guillotine choke, but it was kind of a weird guillotine choke in my opinion. He was getting taken down, he got taken down, and somehow he sinked in a guard guillotine, and I was like, oh no, there's no way. When I first watched the fight back in the day, I was like, no, there's no way he's gonna pop his head out of that, and then he ended up submitting him, which hats off to Mike Swick, but Steve Vellante, he just did not have what. He was not fast enough for Mike Swick. Mike Swick's hands are way too fast. His uppercuts were way too fast. His movement was really weird too. He has a weird style of movement and setting up his strikes. But what did you think about this fight?
All right. I mean, look, when a guy comes out and lands a freaking a flying knee and it actually lands, some shit's about to happen. He comes out, lands a flying knee, finishes the fight via guillotine. Yeah, I was the same thing. When he cut the guillotine, I didn't think he had the I thought for sure was it the guy's name? I completely slipped on it. His opponent,
Steve Vellante.
I thought Vellante would get into side control and just get out of the guillotine, and no, somehow just Swick, man, quick Swick. There's a reason to call him quick. He was quick as shit, and he got that guillotine sunk it in, and Steve just couldn't do anything about it at that point. But that guy, I think that at that point he has that reputation of being a friggin' just a lightning fast dude. And if you look at Mike Swick, I mean, let's see. I'm trying to look back at his record back when he fought that guy. You're right. He'd been gone for a little less than a year, right? Comes back, and then after that, decides he's gonna beat Joe Riggs via guillotine, beat David Laza, who we're gonna talk about in a little bit, via decision, and then beats Josh Burke, or loses to Yushin Okami via decision. Of course, everyone back in the day lost to Yushin Okami because they just got, they got ground and humped to death. Then beats Josh Bergman, Marcus Davis, Jonathan Golay, Ben Saunders, and then loses to Dan Hardy and Paul Tiago. And then he last fought in 2012. If you remember that big knockout he suffered at the hands of Matt Brown at UFC on Fox 5, where Henderson, basically tore apart Nate Diaz. Yeah, big knockout loss to Matt Brown, and that was in 2012. And he's coming back July. Swick back in the did I go mute for a second?
Yeah, you did really quick.
God damn, my bad. Anyway, so then we can see Mike Swig back in the UFC at UFC 189 against Alex Garcia. It'll be interesting to see because I think Swig has been off in Thailand, setting up AKA Thailand, if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be nice to see what he's got left. I mean, it could be just one of those coming back just to end his career on a win if possible. But no, that fight was just way fast. And again, I agree with you. It shouldn't have been the co-main, but I don't think they knew 100% what they had on their hands when they got BJ Penn and GSP in the same cage together.
Yeah, no, and Mike Swick, like you were saying, he went on and had a great career. He's still in the UFC. He's still fighting the fight, and he like you said, he's in Thailand, opening up AKA Thailand and doing all this stuff over there. So I kind of want to see what Muay Thai he's going to bring into the UFC in his next fight, because I know he's training Muay Thai over there in Thailand. That's all. If you're in Thailand, that's the first thing you do. I don't care what you do. If you're a martial artist and you get off that plane, you go find a Muay Thai gym and learn some real Muay Thai. Mm-hmm. So Steven Vellante, he lost his fight, went on to fight Dan Chalmers in Ringside MMA 4 in 2009, and then ended his career. He had an alright career in the UFC, or in his MMA career, I should say. He only had that one fight in the UFC, and we never saw him again. So he was just that one and get done. And why was he a co-main event, in my opinion? I don't know if he wasn't that good. But Mike Swick did what he does. He's quick for a reason, and we'll see him back in the cage coming up.
And again, they just didn't know what they had in their hands with GSP and BJ Penn. Believe me, had they known what they were going to get, that shit would have been the main event. All right.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yep.
But moving on to the main event, which I wanted to pick this event because the last show that we had, Rich Franklin was the main event, but I didn't give him his due because it was a Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner fight, and I felt like we gave that too much due. And I like Rich Franklin. He is humble guy, straightforward guy. I got to meet him once, and he's actually like one of the nicest MMA guys I've ever met, and he's just a straight real guy. And he's a monster, though. Like you said, if you go back and watch the interviews before the fight, he was talking so much trash about what he's going to do. He's going to come in, he's going to knock him out. He wants to knock him out. He likes how it feels when he knocks someone out. And he just came off a knockout win against Nate Corey, actually that devastating knockout. And he's even said, when I punched him, I knew he was out, but it felt that good. I was like, whoa, that's not creepy coming from a Christian guy. But he fought.
That guy taught high school math, dude. All right.
Yes.
If my high school math teacher could knock dudes out, I'd have respected them much more.
yeah, definitely. My high school math teacher was the wrestling coach, and he was an asshole.
So, I would not mess with that guy then. Fuck that. My math teacher in high school was probably scared of me because I don't know. Probably because I look scary. I don't know.
Because I'm not going to go into a race thing.
Right? Mexican. It's all good. That's why.
But Rich Franklin fought. No,
go ahead. Sorry. No, I was going to get stupid. Go ahead.
All right. Well, Rich Franklin fought David Loiseau, the Crow. The Crow was a Canadian fighter. He was coming in with huge hype on his back, just saying that he's that guy with deadly elbows. He was the John Jones before there was even a John Jones. His elbows were deadly. He would hit you with the elbow and you would automatically bleed. Your arm automatically be cut open, and he can turn a fight with that elbow. He could be losing, catch you with that elbow, and that fight will change in his favor. But this fight was very entertaining to me. It in a way, the first round, David Loiseau started running. You can kind of see when Rich Franklin tried to engage, he would run away. And Big John McCarthy's like, hey, stop running, or I'm going to take your point away, and you're going to be fucked. So he started fighting back. He had a huge mouse under his eye, actually under both eyes. He looked like, what is that? The movie, The Goonies.
He looked like Batman. He looked like the Batman mask. You know how it's like, or not the mask, the cartoon. The cartoon, for some reason, if you ever watched the Batman cartoons, not the old school ones, but like the ones in like late 90s, maybe in like early 2000s, right? It was those Batman, the Batman cartoon where if he did this with his eyes, the mask itself would actually do the same shit. It looked like that. Like he was just like this the whole time. Because dude, Ace fucked him up bad. Now, and I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but I forgot how to say his name. Luazo. Sorry, Luazo. Luazo comes out in a weird stance, kind of like it almost like he's holding the Spartan like a shield right here, right? Mm-hmm. It's almost like he was holding the shield. He had the leg out like this. He had the arm up like that. It was really an awkward stance. It only took Rich like a minute or two to get used to it, and then started landing shots at will. And that's when Luazo started running away. And of course, they were talking about before the fight started when they were walking out. Luazo trained a lot with GSP, and I'm not saying GSP runs or anything. I don't think he does, but it did look like he was implementing the Jackson's MMA game plan, the run away type of deal. And of course, Andrew Reed pointing out that we cannot forget Rich Franklin is part of One Championships, very successful promotion out of Asia. And he was actually a guest of our very good friends over at Stand and Bang Radio, Aaron Robbins and Fred Kirby, a guest of one of theirs. Go to iTunes and just search Stand and Bang MMA podcast and download that episode. Not going to lie to you, the first part of it sounds like a long-ass commercial. Once you get past that first part, though, they pick his brain with a lot of questions. Really, really smart guy. You can tell he's not punchy whatsoever. Like, he's not a guy that took too many headshots or anything. Very smart dude. I think he owns like a juicing, like a juice, whatever, like a Jamba Juice type of deal. But something like that. But regardless, sticking to the fight, Rich was very, very patient, and he would chase Luazo. He just chase him around. As soon as Luazo stopped running, pop, land some shots. He hurt him a lot, during the fight. Now, Franklin hurt Luazo in the first and second round, basically owning the fight at that point. But then Luazo landed a big shot of his own. I think it was a really nasty left hand, counter punch left hand, landed it on Rich. And then Luazo swarmed him, but Franklin ended up surviving. What people don't remember about Franklin is that his cardio was on point, all right? And that somehow helped him recover from, getting hurt, in that, I believe it was the third round. But that was kind of like a last gasp for Luazo. At that point, like you said, like his left eye was destroyed. His right eye was well on its way to that. Big John kept staring at him, like just almost like looking for an excuse to stop the fight. Ended up not happening. The fight went to decision, and of course, the decision was just lopsided. Again, the Eddie Bravo, during the fight, calling out the rounds was like 10-9 the whole way. Luazo had no business being in there with Rich Franklin. Although before the fight, the hype was that this was going to be Rich Franklin's biggest test of his career. Ended up being his most, and I'm almost saying it, word by word, word for word from Joe Rogan, saying that this is supposed to be the biggest fight of his, the biggest challenge, and it ended up being his most dominant performance because it really freaking was. Yeah. After that, when was the next time we saw Rich Franklin get, hammered? Anderson Silva with the tie clinch, landing nasty knees. It's almost like Rich Franklin had never seen a tie clinch in his life because he couldn't get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I liked Rich Franklin going in before I was an Anderson Silva fan. I liked Rich Franklin. Rich Franklin was the guy that I liked, and when I saw Anderson Silva do what he did to Rich Franklin, I was like, this guy's a different fighter. He's completely different level than anyone I've ever seen. This guy's going to be champion for a while. And Rich Franklin, it sucked for Rich Franklin because he did get his rematch against Anderson Silva, but it was the same thing. It was those knees, the Muay Thai clinch and everything like that he just could not pick up. But Rich Franklin, he was the dominant champion of his era. He's like you said, he's a smart guy, nice guy. He owns his own juicing bar called Zinlin. I think it's called Zealand. It's in LA. I watched the interview with I forgot who it was, but about his juicing bar, and he's part of ONE FC, and he has not marked out coming back for one more fight. He still has one more fight on his UFC contract. Dana White even says he's always welcome back. He can always fight again. Do you think we'll see Rich Franklin back in the UFC?
Well, first of all, I think the one thing I remember Rich Franklin back in the day was his shorts. You know that ice cream that is like strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla, I think it is?
Yeah.
What's it called? Napolitan? No, something like that? Whatever. I called him the ice cream man because these shorts look so goddamn weird. And so I was just like, okay, yeah, the fucking ice cream man guy. And then of course he looks like Ace Ventura, Pet Detective dude. I can't remember his name. Jim Carrey. He looks just like Jim Carrey. So,
wow.
I think that's why they call him Ace. I'm pretty sure that's why they call him Ace. I don't know. But do I think he's gonna come back? I think so. I mean, I think he'll do one more fight and then get put in the UFC Hall of Fame. I think he should. It's not gonna be a huge fight like a title shot or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he'll come back and I'm surprised he hasn't gotten the itch to fight again at least one more time. But again, being very successful, he has his own business. He heads up won championships, and have you seen the pictures? Oh, sorry. We got tweeted too from Aaron talking about the pictures of Ken Shamrock at the Bellator picture. But anyway, I think we'll see Rich Franklin one day. I think if it's gonna happen, though, it'll happen later this year. I don't think it's gonna be one of those things where it's gonna be next year, or year after, because age. You can stop a lot of things, but you can't stop taxes or time. So it's unless you want to go to jail or you find a time machine. It's kind of what it is. But I think he'll come back. I hope he comes back. I want to see that guy go out on a big win and then like right away Hall of Fame, UFC Hall of Fame, as much of a shame as that is, and then go head up one FC or one championships and see how far he could take that thing.
Yeah. No, I like I said, he's awesome. I really do think he'll be back in the UFC. I do want to see one more fight, and I want to see him get a good win in the middleweight division. And then talking about David the Crow Loazo, his last fight in the UFC was in 2010 against Mario Miranda. It was actually a loss against Mario Miranda, and he's still fighting. He's been kind of decent. I kind of did a little research. He still likes to fight. He hasn't completely retired yet. He still likes and wants to fight, but his last fight was in 2014 against Dwayne Lewis in WSOF, and he ended up taking a loss due to decision because of that. But David Loazo, he was that fighter that was supposed to beat Rich Franklin and supposed to be, like you said, that dominant force, and we just saw how good Rich Franklin was. But
yeah, he picked them apart. I mean, look, wasn't Loazo supposed to be some crazy striker?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's supposed to be a better striker, and he outstruck a crazy striker.
Yeah, and then he broke his hand. He broke his left hand.
Busted. Second round, busted his left hand. You're right. Yeah, he was actually in the post fight interview with Joe. He was saying, "Yeah, you saw how I was squeezing it." So I went back, of course, and I fucking looked. And yeah, he was squeezing it and kind of shaking it and squeezing it, trying to get a feel for it, how bad it was. But definitely, man, it was impressive, of course, from Rich Franklin. And again, a fight supposed to be his biggest test of his career, ended up being the most dominant fight that he had in the UFC. Yeah,
and it was funny when he broke his left hand. You see him still throwing with the left hand, but he would throw a lot more with the right, throwing backhands with the right, hammer fists with the right, just trying not to hurt his left hand even more, damage it any more than he had to. But great fight overall. Since the show's called That
Just Happened.
That just happened. Jesus. That just happened. My that just happened moment had to be the George St. Pierre BJ Penn fight. It's just that fight was insane. I was so excited for that fight. It was bloody and it was a good overall fight. Runner up has to be the Rich Franklin, seeing Rich Franklin defeat his biggest test.
Mine would have to be from that whole event. Man, it's hard to pick. Okay, as far as the overall moment, just the BJ Penn GSP fight as a whole, but looking at it from our point of view now, where we look back at two legends, when they were still high-level guys destroying people, GSP at the very start of that, and not knowing what we had back then, and now looking back at, wow, those two titans freaking threw down in the cage. Runner up to me would be the Hominick triangle finish of the Jitsu, just for the fact that I mean, just watching that fight, even watching the replay, even though you know who won and how it went down, you still have a feeling that Yves Edwards going to knock his ass out. He's going to knock his ass out somehow, and it goes to the ground. And again, Thug Jitsu gets jits. What the hell, So probably one of the more embarrassing losses in Yves Edwards' career. Yeah. But Mark Hominick was not a punk whatsoever. That guy's a warrior for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And little fun fact about Rich Franklin. When I got to see him speak, he spoke at a local church down here. He actually didn't talk about MMA that much. He just talked about personal life and stuff, which was actually really cool. And then the MMA questions started coming out. But a lot of people don't know he has a Bible verse on his shorts. Every fight that he's ever fought in, he has a Bible verse. Now, I'm not huge on religion. Don't get me wrong. I believe that there's something out there, but that's another topic for another day. But he has
podcast, my friend. That's for like a ULI or the return of the stash cash. Should that ever come back, man?
Yeah, and that is coming back. Hopefully, we've been talking about it. But the verse is Psalms 14, 144:1, and it's actually one of my favorite ones. If I pick a Bible verse, it's praise be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. That is sick. I just thought that was really cool when he said that at the church that he was speaking at. I was like, wow, that's sick. I want to kind of write that down and keep that in mind for anything. But a little fun fact about Rich Franklin there.
Yeah, again, and you know what's funny about Rich Franklin is that it almost seems like most of the cards where he's headlining, a fight goes down before it. Mm-hmm. Where it kind of gets overshadowed. For this one was GSP BJ Penn. For the other one was a Forrest Griffin Stephan Bonner fight. That dude just couldn't catch a break. No. And then finally he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna headline with Anderson Silva. It's freaking on. High clinch, knees to the face. It's all over. Shit, you know." So
my belt. Yeah. I want my belt back.
Dude, Anderson Silva came out on the scene, man, and just whoo. Do you think, you know? And again, we're kind of off topic now, but do you think we'll ever get another guy as you know? Besides John Jones, because John Jones, as much as people don't like him, he's that guy most likely. But besides John Jones, do you think we'll ever see another guy that brings like the attention the way Anderson Silva does? And I mean, you can make a case that Ronda Rousey's that fighter. Yeah. But I mean, as far as like another guy that will come out, you think we'll ever get another Anderson Silva in there?
Not anytime soon. I thought we had it with Eric Silva with his first couple fights. I was this dude is legit. I cannot. And then he got dropped. And I was like, shit. And then he got dropped again. I was like, God damn.
But Eric Silva forgot that cardio is a big part of your MMA game.
Yeah. He was up there on my list, and then so was Edson Barbosa until he got dropped, and we found out he has a reach in too. I don't think we'll see anyone like Anderson Silva or like another GSP in a couple years coming up. You can make a case for Conor McGregor right now. I still want to see him fight a bigger test, and Fred Kirby can. I was
gonna say, shout out to Fred Kirby talking all that shit about Conor McGillicuddy and Conor McNuts, Conrad McGillicuddy. What other names do we have for this guy? Whatever. Aaron could probably think of way more than I can.
Tony the Tiger and shit.
Oh yeah, Tony Tiger's butthole on his. You see that picture? The Angela. Again, another shameless plug for my buddy over at Standing Bank. The last episode was Angela Hill. Was actually really funny. You listened to it, right?
Yeah, no, it's awesome podcast.
That was a great episode. Anyway, but they do talk about Tony Tiger's butthole on Conor McGregor's stomach, and that shit's funny to me. So yeah.
But other than that, I don't have anything else for this card. Just like I said, it was overall good card. It was a good card for back in the day. The next card that I kind of want to cover, I've been thinking about it. I kind of want to drift away from the UFC. I'm thinking of either doing a WEC or a Pride card, going back to Pride, because I haven't actually finished all of the Pride fights yet. I've finished a lot of them, but I haven't finished all of them. So I kind of want to either turn towards Pride or like an early WEC fight. But other than that, this was a great show, great card overall. Anything else you have to say, Eddie?
Fuck Helwani, Conor McHugnuts, and I don't think Andrew Reed's drinking yet, but absolutely fantastic Jack and every other Ohio fucking catchphrase I can think of. That's it. Oh, come back on Saturday for the UFC 186 preview show only on CrossBonesMMA. You're gonna say I can't even stop. Just come back for the preview. Check my Twitter. It'll be an hour and a half for the Fight Pass Premium start. That way you're just focused and on point And you'll know, we'll get as much information as we can about every single fighter, so you know who the hell you're watching, even if it's the most obscure of fights on the Fight Pass card.
Yes, exactly. And I'm gonna try to jump on that car or on that show once I get out of work. I'll probably jump on my phone because I do want to defend Mighty Mouse Johnson, but that's another topic for another day. If you want to hear me talk about it, go to Keyboard Warriors and 5 Rounds because I have a lot of shit to say about Mighty Mouse. But other than that, thanks for joining. This has been another show of That Just Happened, and we will see you next week.
See you.